Hello and good morning, CSI 135 students. This is the solution for lab number 3, and what this video is going to do is it's simply going to walk you through each of the steps that would be required to successfully complete lab number 3, all the way up to and including the mailing of the project to me. Alright, so when we started lab 3 on Wednesday evening, you were sent an email, and I have the email displayed here on the screen. You can see that it says you can find the instructions for the lab in /temp/CSI135B directory, and the name of the lab file is lab number 3.bz2. So I'm going to go ahead and quit from mail with the Q command. I'm going to CD, and that's how we change directories into temp CSI135B, right? And again, I have to use it's easier to use the absolute path name here. Right? So this is one way to get into that directory, and another way to get into that directory would be if I CD to my home directory again, right? I could do CD space ... which would put me in CSI 135 / ... which would put me in Spring 13 / ... and you remember the two dots together are the directory that is immediately above your current location. So now we're in students / ... puts us in U, and then we're going to go / ... /temp, and if I hit enter and I type pwd, you can see now I've moved all the way to the temp directory. But again, much easier to simply use the absolute path name in this case, which is cd /tmp /CSI135B. Okay, so I am in the directory, and you can see there's a number of files that are in this directory. Some strange, some not so strange. So if I do an ls-l, you can see that, and we'll talk about this on this Wednesday, you can see the D represents a directory, right? And these are just files, hosts, hosts1, and then here's the file we're looking for, lab number 3.bz2. Now, if you remember from the reading last week, you can use bzcat, right, to uncompress and display the contents of a file. So I type in bzcat space lab number 3.bz2. When I hit enter, it actually concatenates the contents of that file, uncompresses it, and pushes it out onto what they call standard output. And in this case, standard output is going to be my screen. So here's where I ran the command. I scrolled back up a little bit. You have your instructions here, right? It asks you to go ahead and send an email to tpb@vader.aacc.edu when you're done. And it wants you to use the script utility to capture all your output during this lab. Now, I'm going to do everything in one window, but you could easily open up multiple windows to capture your answers or to run your commands with the script utility. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here, and I'm going to do something to keep a copy of this file, that'll make it easier for me to look at this file instead of having to bzcat the file constantly. So if you remember from our discussion, you could do bzcat lab number 3.bz2, and I'm going to send the output to my home directory, right, / lab number 3. So what this is going to do is it's going to create a file in my home directory. I'm redirecting the output. I could just as easily also put it in the temp directory. So if I run this command, right, if I type cat my home directory, again, that way I don't have to type out /u /student /CSI135. So the tilde / lab number 3, this will also display the contents of the file, and there it is. But you'll notice I'm still, right, pwd, print working directory, I'm still in the temp CSI135B directory. Another option here, I could have typed in, let me recall that command, I could have typed in bzcat, and maybe I want to put it in the temp directory, right, to keep it in the temp directory just in case. So I could type in /tmp /lab, and again, it doesn't have to be the same name. I could use lowercase ab, and just do lab 3 and leave it like that. So because again, remember, you're kind of creating this file with the output of the bzcat command, which is being redirected as the input right, to the redirection command with the greater than sign. So I could have typed this, but I'll go ahead and just use lab 3 in my home directory, right? So I'm just going to keep one copy of that file out there. So whenever I want to refer to that file, I could cat it, or I could type more ~/lab3, right? And the convenience with the more command is it goes one screen at a time. So every time I want to refer to this file, I simply just need to type in more space ~/ and then the name of the lab, the name I gave the lab, which in this case is lab 3. All right, so as you can see, it says you will be using the script utility to capture all your output during this lab. The name of your script file must be CSI135BXX_02062013 _ script and must be located in your home directory, right? Refer to the man page if you're unclear. So if you type in man space script and hit enter, you can see it gives you some instructions, some options, right? If you already have a script file that's running, you can append if you use the -A, right? Okay, since we're not appending, we're creating a brand new file. And let me come down here to the bottom, make sure we've got everything okay. Right, the history of the command, it first appeared in 3.0 Berkeley software distribution, right? Places everything into a log file, including line feeds and backspaces, right? So let's type Q to quit there. I'm going to clear my screen. Oops, clear my screen. So I need to know where I'm at. So right now I'm in temp CSI135B. I want to create this file in my home directory. So to move to my home directory, I could type in CD/U/students/CSI135. Whoops. I think that's where we're at. /u CD students, and then what was here again? Ah, yes, Spring 13. CD Spring 13, and then CD CSI135, and then CDB 25, right? So now I'm in my home directory, right? So if I was back in /temp/CSI135B, right, PWD, so if I was in this directory, I would actually have to type all of this out if I wanted to use the relative path name. The much simpler way to get back into your home directory is simply type CD and hit enter and type PWD. So print working directory confirms, hey, I'm in my home directory. So if I'm in my home directory, if I wanted to take a look at lab 3, I don't need to type in more tilde. I could, but I am in the directory right now with that file. If I type ls, you can see right there I have lab number 3. So I'll type more lab number 3, and again the first instruction is to start a script file. So you do that by typing script space and then the name of the file you wish to script or have everything you're doing copied into. CSI135B, and I'm B25, right, _02062013. Right? Simply the night we have class, or the night we had class. Okay, _script, and hit enter. So it says script started, file is, and it gives you the file name. So when I type ls, you can see we have a new file that's been created here, right? And it should be capturing what we're doing. So if I clear my screen and then type cat CSI135B25, etc., right? It's empty right now because I haven't done anything of note, right? So now it's going to capture everything we do. So I'm going to type more lab number 3 because I need to get the next step, right? So step number 1, in the temp directory, create a new directory with the name CSI135BXX_ and then MM for the month, DD for the day, and YYYY for the year. So I could CD into the temp directory and do this, right, and then use the make dir command, or I don't even have to change directories. I could be in the home directory, right, and let's confirm that. I'm in my home directory by simply typing mkdir /temp/CSI135B25 _02062013. Again, I'm using the absolute path name, right, with the starts with a forward slash to signify where I want the directory created. So I'm going to hit enter, and it may tell me the directory already exists. Yeah, file exists. So let me rm-rf/tmp/csi135b25 underscore. All right, so there we go. We just cleaned out the directory. So I will rerun the command. Make dir /temp/csi135b25 and then underscore with the date, and I'll hit enter. Now, how can I confirm that it created that directory? I could simply type ls, and again, I don't need to move into the temp directory. I can do everything from here. ls/temp and hit enter. And I'm going to come check, and let's see, did B25's directory get created? CSI135B25, sure enough, there it is. CSI135B25, so it's been created, right? And again, I'm still in my home directory. All right, so let's take a look at the next step that's required. Step number 2. In the new directory that you created in step number 1, which was temp CSI135B25, and then with the underscore and the date, create the following 6 new subdirectories. So what we're doing is we're creating 6 directories inside of the new directory I've just created, which is CSI135B25 underscore 02062013. And again, I can do that from right here in my home directory. Make dir /temp/CSI135B25 underscore, and again, I'm utilizing the tab key there, right, to fill in, to auto fill in. Once I have a unique set of characters that are unique within that directory, it'll fill it in for me automatically. And now I'm going to type in Ravens, right, and hit enter. Now, utilizing the up arrow, I hit the up arrow, I just simply need to backspace over Ravens, and now I can type in 49ers, right? Up arrow, backspace over 49ers, I type in lab number 3. So this saves you some time. Instead of having to type everything out, you can utilize the up arrow key. Wednesday, up arrow, backspace over Wednesday, and math is hard, and then backspace, and we've got homework. Now keep in mind, Unix is case sensitive, right? So you'll notice I have some upper and lower case, and that's why this was in here, right? To stress that it's case sensitive and how important it is to make sure that you're matching the case, right? And I hit echo, or I'm sorry, and I hit enter, not echo. So I hit enter. So how could I check to see if these directories have been created in my CSI135B25 underscore 02062013 directory? Again, from my home directory, ls/tmp/CSI135B25 underscore tab, because again, this should be a unique directory inside /temp, and hit enter. And there you go. You can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 6 directories have been created, right? So that was step number 2. Step number 3, and I'm going to go ahead and type more on lab number 3. Or I'm going to type more on lab number 3 because we want to see what step 3 is here. So I type Q. Again, if you're in more and it shows you the percentage at the bottom there. So if I'm running this command and you see how it says, whoops, see how it says more 18%, and I'm hitting enter here, one line at a time because I want to see question number 3 and 4, right? To stop that, just simply hit Q to quit, and you get your command prompt back. All right, so from here, number 3 says, what will the contents of the file not junk be after you run the following series of commands in the order presented? So for number 3, you simply need to run the commands that are there for you. And again, the bash-3, this is my prompt, right? So here are the commands, because you can see that my prompt is a little different than yours, right? So let me cat etc hosts greater than my stuff. Enter. Copy my stuff to junk. So what we've done there is the first command, we catenate the etc hosts file and redirect it and append it, or if there's the file my stuff doesn't exist, it will create it. So etc host, the contents of that file are now pushed into my stuff. I'm copying my stuff to junk. So we're making a copy of the file my stuff, right? And we're going to call it junk. So after that command, if I type ls, you'll see I have my stuff and junk. So now we have two versions of the same file. Now I'm going to move junk to not junk. So I'm simply going to rename, right, junk to not junk. So if I type ls, you can see I now have not junk, oops, and my stuff. Not junk and my stuff. And junk is gone, right? See, junk was here, but we renamed it. So now I'm going to type date greater than not junk. And so the question asks, after you run this series of commands, what, if anything, is inside the file not junk? So let's take a look. You could do more not junk and hit enter. You could do cat not junk and hit enter. I could type less, oops, less cat junk, less not junk and hit enter, right? And then when you do less, right, if you do Q, it'll quit that. It'll get rid of that black sort of status area there at the bottom. So there's three different ways right there where you can display the contents of a file. All right, so what are the contents of the file? So the contents of the file are simply the current system date and time, because right here, the last command that we ran, where we redirected the output from the date command into the file not junk using the greater than sign. And remember, the greater than sign, if something is in the file, the greater than sign will destroy everything in the file that exists and place the input that you're giving it. And so here we're giving it the date command. So as you can see, the contents are simply the current system date and time, and you can see I'm doing this at 10:30 Sunday morning, right? So the lab, we put out the instructions at the beginning of the lab to basically just create a file in VI to place your answers, right, for any of the questions that we're asking, you know, for feedback. So I'm going to type in VI, and I'll call it lab3_answers, right? So I've created my file in VI. I type I to put myself in insert mode. I've put in here, Travis, here are my answers for lab number 3, right? Or I could do a semicolon. So number 3 was asking for what would be in the file. The contents of the file after running the commands would be the current system date and time, right? So I hit escape, and again, as I've said, my what's the word I'm looking for? My preference is to simply do Shift-ZZ. Again, I've always done Shift-ZZ. So there we go. That's our answer. So now I simply need to type in more with a capital LA, right, to make it unique, and hit enter because I've completed step number 3. Step number 4 is asking for something very similar, right? What will the contents of the file MV be after you run the following series of commands in the order presented? So you simply run through the commands, host name, and I'm going to send it to CP. So I'm creating a file in my current working directory with the name of CP. So again, this is not overriding the copy command because the copy command resides in a different directory, and we'll see that here in a second. So I've just created a file called CP. So now if I wanted to see what I put in there real quick, I could cat that file. So let's see what's in there. Again, vader.aacc.edu. So now the next step is to move copy to move, right? So again, the copy and move utilities are located in different directories. So I can create files in my home directory that have those same names, right? So I basically renamed my file CP to MV. So if I type ls, you can now see that I no longer have a file called CP, I've got a file called MV. So if I cat MV, same contents. So now I'm going to copy MV to mv.1, something you might do if you were going to edit the file MV to keep a backup. Then I'm going to run the uptime command with a greater than, which means I'm going to append the contents, or I'm sorry, I'm going to append the output from the uptime command to the mv.1. the file mv.1, and I'll hit enter. And then I'm going to move mv.1 to mv. So I'm basically renaming mv.1 to mv. Now, before I do that, if I type ls, you can see that I still have, from the copy command here, where I created a copy of CP, I'm sorry, where I renamed CP to MV, and then I copied MV to MV1, we still have that file MV. So what would be the result of this command? Move MV.1 to MV. Will both files still be there, or will we only have one file? So you type ls, and you can see we moved it, right? I didn't copy it, I moved it. So I moved it from this name to this name. And so now whatever was in this file, we're not appending here. When you move something, you simply overwrite it. So when I cat mv to see what's in there, as you would expect, we have the results of the copy command. When we moved it to mv1, it had the host name. And here you can see the host name, vader.aacc.edu. We also have the results of the uptime command, which we redirected and appended, so it's at the end. And this is the current time the system's been up for 102 days. There's 8 users currently on the system, and then it gives you some output of the load average over 5 minutes, I believe. And series of, I actually have to do the man page to take a look at that. So, all right, so that's the result, right? The result is we have the output from the hostname command and the output from the uptime command. So I want to add that to my file that I'm keeping for my answers. So I would type in vi space lab3 underscore answers. I'm doing J to move down, O to open up a line. So we'll type in number 4. Oops. The contents of the file after running the commands would be 3, 4, 5, 6. The host name of the class system and the amount of time the system has been up and operational. Right? So again, I want to keep this file, so I hit escape and then shift ZZ, and I'm right back out of my command line. So now if I were to type in, again, we want to continue with the lab, more LA, right, because I know that's unique, and then tab and enter. So we've created our directory in temp, we've created our 6 subdirectories, we've done number 3 and number 4, now we're on to number 5. So I'll type Q. So it says, in the directory you created in 2A above, so let's take a look at 2A. So here's 2A. So in the Ravens directory, create a file with the name months that contains a list of all the months that occur in a year, and be sure to put the months in order and using the full name of the month. Also, each month must be on a line by itself. So for example, you would start with January and then hit enter, February, enter, and then the ... is, you know, March, April, May, June. So we've got to do that in the /temp/CSI135B25 underscore 0206 2013 directory. I'm sorry, in the Ravens directory. So I could easily CD down there, right? Temp CSI135B25 underscore, oops, underscore, and then tab, and then capital R, and that's unique at that point. So I hit tab here, it puts me into the Ravens directory. So I could move in here, and I could easily type in VI and then create the file. Oops, hit my caps lock key there, sorry about that. I could type in VI space months and create the file, right? And then type in the type in the names of the month. But I'm not going to do that, right? I want to show you how you can do it using the absolute path name. So I type CD, which puts me where? Back in my home directory. PWD, right? /u/student. So I'm confirming I'm in my current working, or I'm in my home directory, and my home directory is my current working directory. So how would you create that file all the way down in the temp directory from your home directory? Very simply, you type in VI space and the absolute path name, right? /TMP /CSI135B25. Now here's the good thing, right? I do the underscore, it makes it unique. I don't have to be in that directory for the tab key to assist me here. Tab, and it fills it in. Capital R, tab, fills it in. And now the name of my file, months. right? Hit enter. I hit I to get into insert mode, and again, remember, we created the .exrc file in our home directory, so we do show mode, so I'm in insert mode. So let's create that file. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, is that right? Yep. November, December. December. Okay. I'm at December, so I hit escape. And again, how do I save my file and get back to the command line? Shift, hold the shift key down, ZZ. Right? So now you'll see temp CSI 135B25, Ravens months. And again, I could have CD'd in there, right? And the hope was that was what you did. But since we're getting ready to talk this week about absolute path names and relative path names in the file system, I want to make sure I show you some alternate methods to create this file. So there we are. So now I'm going to type in more space, or actually let me back up here. I'm going to cat out what I think I just created, right? So let's confirm that it's actually in there. So again, using the absolute path name, I copy and paste out the name of the file, and I hit the enter key, right? So cat /temp /CSI 135B25 underscore 02062013 / Ravens months, and there it is, right? All 12 months in the order they're supposed to be in. All right, so let's take another look at lab number 3 and see what the next step is. So we just finished step number 5, right? So if you were to run the following command on the file you created in number 5, which is the file months, what would the output display? So tail -5 months. Now this is asking you for feedback, right? So if you remember, right, using the up arrows, I just went back. So instead of having to type all that out again, I can just use the up arrows, backspace over that, tail space -5, and I use the absolute path name, right? The entire path to where this file is located, starting at the root directory. And I hit enter. And so what does it display? It displays the last 5 months of the year. So let's VI our lab answers file. And we'll come down here. And I'll say number 6. Whoops. So I'll do escape, and I'm going to do shift capital O because I want to push down that number 6. Then I do escape, J, and then L to move me over to the right, A to append, and I'm going to come out here and I'm going to say the command displays the last 5 months of the year, right? Escape, shift ZZ. So let's see what's next. Lab number 3. Okay, so that was number 5, that was number 6, so now we're on number 7. So by default, how many lines of the file will the tail utility display? Again, the premise or the purpose of this question is to get you to think, hey, I don't know by default, maybe you didn't do the reading, maybe you forgot, so let's take a look at the man page. Oops, man page. Take a look at the man page for tail. So man space tail. And I hit enter. Description. Print the last 10 lines of each file to standard output. With more than one file, precede each with a header giving the file name. Okay, so right there we know print the last 10 lines. So let's put that in our lab answers file, and this is number 7. Hit O for open, space, number 7, and the command, the tail command by default displays the last 10, or I'm sorry, yeah, the last 10 lines of a file, right? Escape, shift, hold shift down, ZZ, and so now we're on to the next question. So more lab number 3, number 7. Oops, we did number 7, now we're on to number 8. Okay, so in the directory you created in 2Baker, 2B above, create a file with the months of the year in alphabetical order, and do this using the sort utility, or using the utility sort. The name of the file must be alphabetical _ months. Now, there's a number of ways we can do this. The purpose of the question is to get you to use redirection using the sort command. You could just as easily go into the /temp CSI 135 and then B is the 49ers directory. you could just as easily move into the 49ers directory, VI a file called alphabetical underscore months, and try to figure out alphabetically how those things are supposed to be arranged and put them into the file. But again, the purpose of the question was to get you to use redirection, right? So let's go ahead and talk about redirection, and you can also use the pipes here as well. So we know we have a file that already exists called months, and we know where that's located. If I use the up arrow, right, there's the file right there, cat temp, and then the months, and there are my months. So I know how to display the contents to standard out, which is my screen. The question in number 8 asks you, right, to create a file that has the months in alphabetical order that exists in the 49ers directory. So we'll roll back up here. So again, here is the 49ers, right? So how would I do that? Well, I've already got the command displayed to show me the months. So now if I pipe it, right, and remember we talked about this prior to the lab, to sort, let's see what that looks like. So again, before you send it to the file, run the command. Take a look, see what it looks like. Here we go. April, August, December, February, January, July, June, March, May, November, October, September. So did sort do the trick? It certainly did. There are all 12 months and they're all sorted, but those are not in the file yet. So now this is where we want to create that file called alphabetical underscore months. So I'm going to use the greater than sign, right, because I'm going to create this file, and I'll use the absolute path name again, /temp/CSI 135B25 underscore tab, automatically fills it in, 49, or just 4, tab, and now alphabetical underscore months, right? So what is this command doing? It's concatenating or sending to the standard output the file that is located in the Ravens directory here, all the way down in temp, months, which we've already created here. It pipes it to sort. So the sort command is taking the output from the concatenate command, and it's going to sort it. And we saw what that did here, right? It gave us the months in alphabetical order, and then I'm just simply going to redirect it with the greater than sign. And if this file alphabetical underscore months existed, it's going to get overwritten, right? And if it doesn't exist, it's going to be created. And so here we go. I use the absolute path name. Now, before I do that, what I could have done, I could also cd into temp CSI 135B25 underscore tab, and then 49ers. I could have moved into that directory, right? And now that I'm in that directory, I could have used just the following command and then simply said alphabetical underscore months. And again, remember, absolute path name versus relative path name. If I'm not in the directory, I have to let the Linux operating system know, hey, I want you to create this file, alphabetical underscore months, all the way down in this directory, right? If I'm in that directory, and if I'm already in that directory, because I CD'd all the way down into 49ers here, print working directory shows that that's where I'm at, right? I don't have to provide, I could, right? I could put all of this, but since I'm already in temp C, oops, sorry. Let me slide my window back. Didn't mean to move my window there on me. Since I'm already in that directory, right, I can simply give the file name. So let's do that. I'll hit enter. Okay, and where am I? I'm there. So I should be able to type ls to list out the files in the directory. Sure enough, there's alphabetical months. And again, 3 ways that we can take a look at this. More alphabetical months, right? Cat alphabetical months, less alphabetical months, right? And again, when you receive the little status bar for less, and usually less is used like more is, if it's going to be more than an entire screen full of output. Here we know it's not, it's 12 lines, right? Hey, another way you could do it, I can VI, right? I can VI alphabetical months. And here's my file. Now, you wouldn't use VI to check the contents of the file. If you wanted to see what was in the file, you would simply use cat or more or less, or you could use head or tail, right? But we know it's 12 lines. So here I am looking at it. I'd use vim when I want to come in and change it, right? Like if I wanted to delete a bunch of the lines out of the file, I would use VI. But that's not what we're here for, right? I'm just here to confirm that, hey, alphabetical months contains a list of the months in alphabetical order. All right, CD puts me back in my home directory. Let me see what we've got going on here. The script file is in here. If I type ls with the -L, it's going to show me all the files that I have in here. And you'll notice, right, my script file, right, is now 40,000 bytes in size. So if I was to cat CSI135 script, and this is going to be a number of screenfuls of output, right, there you can see it. All right, there it goes. Quite a bit of stuff going on. I did Control-C to quit that. So I'm going to clear it there. All right. So let me make this a little larger here. There we go. Okay, so I am in my home directory, and you can see the script file is still here. So let's take a look at lab number 3 to see what the next step is going to be. All right, so here we go. So we just completed step number 8, which was in the directory you created in 2B above, alphabetical months. Number 9, in the directory you created in 2B above, which is again the 49ers directory, create a file with the months of the year in reverse alphabetical order, and do this using the sort utility. The name of the file must be rev for reverse _ alphabetical _ months. So basically the purpose of the question is to get you to think about how would I get those months into reverse alphabetical order. Well, we use sort up here, so let's take a look at the man page for sort and see what we would do to get something to be reversed. And as you can see conveniently, the last thing we see down here is the -R, right? Reverse the result of the comparisons. So again, where am I located? I'm in my home directory. So I know that if I use the up arrow, I know I've got some commands in here that show me that alphabetical months file. And let's try this one here, right? And again, this is going to cause an error, but I want you to see. So I'm in the home directory, right? This file doesn't exist in my home directory. This exists down in temp, CSI135, etc., 49ers, so forth and so on. So when I type cat alphabetical months and hit enter, it's going to tell me cat alphabetical months, no such file or directory. Because again, I'm giving the relative path name to that file, right? When I cat alphabetical months, that's the relative path name. So this is assuming that that file exists in the current working directory, right? And as we can see above, my current working directory right now is my home directory, right? And that file does not exist in here. So we would have to use the absolute path name. So let's use the up arrow key, because I know we looked at some examples, right? Oops, and this is a good one here. So what I'm going to do is, again, you can edit what you've typed on the command line. I'm just going to backspace up, and I already know it's in 49ers, right? / whoops. So there we go. So I could cat 49ers / alphabetical months. Let's see what we get. All right, so there we go. So now we know that we've got the command. So here's the command I can use. And again, this is from my home directory that would display the contents of that file. What I can also do is I can CD down there, right? CD/temp CSI135B25 _ hit the tab 49ers, enter, type ls. I want to see what files are in here, and there we go. There's alphabetical months. So now, relative to this file name, I am in the same directory, right? So now all I need to do is type cat alphabetical _ months and hit enter, and there they are. So let's take a look at the lab again. I need to refresh my memory here. So the tilde is my home directory. Whoops. Lab number 3. Hit enter. And we're down on step number 9. So again, in that same directory, I want to take this file and put it in reverse order. So we saw that if I went sort -R, it said it would reverse it. So before we redirect it with the greater than or the greater than, let's take a look. Let's see what we get. Right? Is this reverse alphabetical? SONM all the way down to April. Hey, we know we've got a winner here, right? So I'm going to redirect it because I don't care if another file exists with that name. Rev alphabetical _ months. Hit enter. So let's see, did it create it? ls, list out the files in the current working directory, and I'm going to cat. And again, so if I type RE and hit tab, it's going to fill in all that stuff for me. Look at that, right? Big time saver. The key is to know what directory you're in. Know where you're at. Hit enter. There it is. Number 9 is done. So I'm all the way down here in the 49ers subdirectory under CSI 135B25. Take a look at the lab back in my home directory, right? See what we've got next on number 10. So we just did number 9. So number 10, starting with the first Super Bowl played on January 15th, 1967, create a file in the directory you created in 2F. Well, what did we create in 2F? Right? What was the one we did in 2F? Homework, right? Capital H and then capital W-O-R-K. So I'm going to scroll down here and read the rest of this. So basically, it wants the first 10 teams to lose the Super Bowl. And the file must have the name losers, all capitals, right? So for example, it would begin with Kansas City Chiefs, Oakland Raiders. So down in the homework directory, so where am I? I'm here. So I could do cd/temp CSI 135B25 underscore and then tab and then type in homework. And that would be using the absolute path name to get there. Another way to get there, right? Since I'm already in the 49ers directory, I could move up one directory. And again, remember that .. says change directories to the directory immediately above my current location. So where am I currently located? I'm in the 49ers directory, right? So to move up to this directory, the CSI 135B25 underscore 02062013, I can type in cd space .. Now, not only can I move myself up, I can then tell the shell, the command line, hey, and put me in the 49ers directory, right? Because once the .. is executed, once I do cd .. it says go from here to here, and then I put /49ers, and it says go from CSI 135B25 into 49ers. And so let's see what happens there. So I hit enter, type in PWD, and there we go, /temp/CSI 135. So I'm in that 49ers directory, right? So, but I want to move into the homework directory. So I could type in the same command again, right? cd space .. /homework and then it automatically put the slash in there for me in case I wanted to go into another directory below homework. I hit enter. If I type in PWD, there you go, right? And it's the same concept, cd .. /ravens, right? Would put me in the Ravens directory. Because remember, the .. pushes me up one directory, and then I can go down immediately after. So again, cd .. math is hard. Where am I at? I'm in that math is hard directory. All right, so let's get back to number 10. I want to be in the homework directory, and I want to get the first 10 teams to lose and create the file called losers. So where am I at? I'm in math is hard, cd .. h tab, because again, the H is unique in that directory above me, and then enter. PWD homework. Okay, so I'm in that directory, so I can type in VI space losers, right? And I need to get the 10 teams who have lost the Super Bowl. So give me 2 seconds here, because I do need to Google this. And I know it starts with the Kansas City Chiefs. So give me a second here, and we're going to go Super Bowl winners. So list of the Super Bowl champions. I want to see the results, right? So the losers were Kansas City. So I'll type in I for insert mode. So Kansas City Chiefs, right? And then it was the Oakland Raiders. And then what do we have? Baltimore, Minnesota, Dallas, Baltimore Colts, Minnesota Vikings. Take a look again. Dallas, Miami, Washington, Dallas Cowboys, Miami Dolphins. And I think we have a different team. Washington, Minnesota, Minnesota. So then Washington Redskins, Minnesota Vikings, and where are we at? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So after the Vikings, there were 2 more. Let's see. Minnesota and Dallas. So Minnesota lost back-to-back Super Bowls. Minnesota Vikings, and then the Dallas Cowboys, right? So there is our file. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm using the K key to move up. J moves you down, right? You see the cursor going down. K moves me up. H moves me to the left. L moves me to the right. So I've got my file, so I'm going to do Escape, Shift ZZ, right? So let's take a look. Is it there? It is. How do I confirm? Cat, losers, right? And there they are. So let's go back and take a look at the lab. Tilde represents my home directory, and then the name of the file is lab number 3. And so this is number 10. All right, file must have the name loser. So there it is. So now number 11. Create a copy of the file in the same directory that you just created in number 10 and name the file super losers. So if I'm in that directory and that file is in the current directory that I'm in, it would be copy space, losers space, super losers, right? So now when I type ls, I would anticipate that I'd have 2 files in here, and they're both identical, and they are. Number 12, in the directory that you were in number 10, which is right here where we're at, homework, create a new file with the name reverse losers, and in that file you should have a reverse alphabetical listing of the losers of the super losers file, or of the losers who are in the super losers file. So if I and again, I could type in cat space capital S tab, automatically fills it in, right? So let's take a look. All right, so that's what that file looks like. And I want to create a file called rev_losers that's in reverse alphabetical order. Well, we already know that sort -r will put things in reverse order for us. Let's see if it works with the super losers file. So is this in reverse alphabetical order? Where are we at here? It's kind of hard to see. I apologize. There we go. So it is, right? W-O-M, and a lot of M's, Minnesota, Miami, Kansas City, Dallas. So that command will work. So I'm going to redirect the output of that command into reverse_losers. Okay? So let's see if it created it. Type ls. Sure enough, I have a file here. Let's see if there's anything in it, right? What's the size of the file? Okay, they're all 170 bytes, so that kind of indicates that these may all be the exact same file because they're all the same size. So if I cat rev_losers and hit enter, there you have it, right? Same file. That's exactly what we wanted. So let's take a look now. Let's go back to the home directory, right? When I say go back, don't CD, right? We're going to go back into the home directory with the more command. We're using the tilde, lab number 3. So we're down here on 12. So we've created it, right? It's there. Everything looks good. We used the super losers file. So now 13, and you noticed before there were some teams that had lost a Super Bowl more than one time. There's rev losers. So let me cat rev losers. See what we have in here, right? So it's already sorted it for me, but you notice the Cowboys are in here twice, the Vikings are in here 3 times. So we want to remove the consecutive duplicate lines, right? So there's a couple ways to do this, right? I can cat the outputs of the file, rev losers, and pipe it to unique, hit enter, and there we go, and they're still in reverse order, just removed the consecutive duplicate lines. Now, that's if I want to cat the output of the file. I could also do unique on rev losers, right? And that works as well. Okay, so there's 2 ways to do it, but we want to get this into a file. And the name of that file is going to be unique_losers. And let me make sure we're in the right directory. Yep, in the same directory, has no duplicate lines. So I could use either of those commands. I could use either unique rev_losers or cat rev_losers and pipe it to unique, and just simply put it out, redirect it to unique losers, right? I could have done the same thing with this command here, and I can do it right now. And it'll simply overwrite the existing file, right? So let's type ls and see what we've got. So there is unique_losers, and sure enough, right, Redskins, Raiders, it's in remove the duplicate lines, and that was what we wanted. So where are we? We're in the homework directory. Let's take a look at the lab again. More, home directory, whatever I name that lab file. And we are now down on to number 13 is in there twice. Okay, lucky 13. All right, so next, in the directory you created in 2E, 2 echo, which is math is hard, right? So we'll come back up here. There's math is hard. And pay attention, capital I, capital S, capital H, and capital M, right? So what does it want us to do? Create a file with the name primes, and in that file, place the 10 consecutive, oops, and that's a misspelling there, consecutive prime numbers starting with 103, each on a line by themselves. So for example, the file would start 103, 107, 109. Okay, so, and that's in the math is hard directory. So, remembering the commands we ran before, how would I get into the math is hard directory? I could type in cd/temp if you like to type 135b25 underscore 02062013 / math is hard. Right, I could do it that way, or I could simply do cd push me up one directory immediately above my current location, which is at CSI135 directory, and then down into the math is hard directory. So that would be the more sort of elegant shortcut way to do it. So let's confirm, am I in that math is hard directory? I am, right? So let's create a file, vi space primes, enter. I'm in command mode, right? Remember, if it doesn't say insert here and we're using show mode, it means you're in command mode. So I type I, and there we go. I'm in insert mode now, so it wants the 10 primes that follow 103. So again, we would type in 103, 107, 109, and after 109 it would be 113, and then 127, and then 131, 137, and I believe 139, and then 149, and I think we go all the way up to 151. Is that 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is, right? Escape, hold the shift key down, and let's do an alternative way, right? Remember, I can do :X, right? You can do :X, and let's see. It says it created the file. Let me do an ls. What directory am I in? I'm in the math is hard directory. Let me cat that file out to make sure. So there we go, 103, 107, 109, 113. So there you go, right? So now I've got that file. So what am I supposed to do next? More /lab3. Let's take a look. So that was the second number 13. So number 14. So in that directory that you created in 2E above, create a file that lists the contents of the file primes in reverse numerical order, right? And it should be rev_prime. So let's confirm. We know that in this directory 2E, it's math is hard. So I'm already in that directory, right? I already have the file primes. So how would I use the sort command to sort it in reverse numerical order? Well, what happens if I type sort -r on primes? It works, right? It sorted it in reverse order. Now, when you're dealing with numbers, it's always a good idea. Let's take a look at the man page on sort. When you're doing a numeric sort, right, you want to use -n. So -r will work here, right? But we want to go ahead, since the file was already in order, the reverse sort just simply reverses it. So when we put it in there in order, when I use the -r, it just rearranges the lines. So it gives you the illusion that it's doing it numerically with the -r, but it's not, right? And we'll get to that in a second. So with numbers, right, you want to use your -n. So if I do sort -n on primes and hit enter, there it is. Up arrow, whoops, pipe, and we're going to go to, oops, I'm sorry. So it is sorting in numerical order, right? But I want it in reverse numerical order. So let me back up here a second and type in the R in. So sort -r in primes, and what does that look like? Is that reverse numerical order? It certainly is, right? And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send it to rev_primes, right? So there we go. If I type in ls, I now have primes. So let's cat primes. You'll notice when you sort those files, when you sort the files, it doesn't change the existing file. The existing file always remains the same. The contents do not change, right? So you can see there's our original file, right? It's still in ascending numerical order, okay? And if I cat reverse primes, Right now it's in descending numerical order from 151 down. So we've got that. Okay, let's go take a look at the lab again. All right, let's see where we're at. We're getting way down here now. All right, so there we go. We've got rev on 15. So create the exact same file that you just created in 14 above. So rev primes, it wants that file, but this time the file should be created in the directory that you created in 2D above. And again, it has the same name. The purpose of this question is to get you to think about either moving or actually copying or running that same command again using the directory that we created in 2D. And what did we create in 2D? Let's scroll back up. 2D is Wednesday, right? So, number of ways that we could do this. I'm already here in the directory, math is hard, with rev primes. So I could simply type copy rev primes to /temp /CSI135B25 underscore, and I'll hit the tab key, and then W, because we know the W is unique, tab, and then simply hit enter, right? So now if I list out the contents, and again I can use the absolute path name of this directory, copy and paste that, and hit enter, you can see that rev files is there. Or rev primes, I apologize. Rev primes is there. But now what if I want to display the contents? I could cat it. Oh, whoops, sorry. I'm going to put the name of the file in here. rev_primes. So I could cat the file. If I come back to the beginning here, and I'm using the arrow keys to move on the command line here. I could cat it. I could more. Right? I'll roll all the way back here. I could also, what's another one that you could be thinking of? Less. And less, unfortunately, always leaves you with the status mode here at the end. So Q to kill that. So from the directory math is hard, I'm able to look at files that are in other directories using, in this instance, these ones I did here, right? Cat, more, and less, the absolute path name. What would that look like with the relative path name? Think about that. Right? Oops, sorry. So I could type in cat /CSI, oops, sorry, Wednesday /rev_primes, right? Because again, the .. says cat out the file that's one directory above me, which would be this directory here, the CSI135. That's then go down into the Wednesday directory and look for the file rev primes. So let's see, does that work? It does, right? And again, same principle applies. I can cat it. I could more it, right? I'm using the up arrow here and then the arrow to the left. I could less the file, and again we end up with that status area. I could even VI that file using the same command, right? So I come down here, type in VI, and I'm in VI, right? And you'll notice very conveniently it shows me down here, hey, you're editing this file that's located ... the directory immediately above where I'm currently at, down in the Wednesday directory, and then the rev primes directory, right? So again, I don't want to edit it. If I did, I would, but Q ! Says quit out and discard any changes because I want to keep that file the way it is. All right, so that was a number of ways that you could create that file in the Wednesday directory. So again, let's take a look at the lab. Tilde for the home directory, capital LA is what I named that file. So we're coming to the end here. All right, so we just did number 14, then we did number 15. So now what is the difference between the files hosts and hosts.1 in the directory /temp /CSI135 capital B? So one way to do it is I can CD down there. Let's go down there and let's take a look. Right, so I type ls. So there's hosts and there's hosts.1. So if I type more hosts. All right, there's a lot of stuff in this file. What about hosts.1? Yeah, there's a ton of stuff in here as well. So this is going to take a while, right? If I was to try to, pull two windows up and put these side by side, very prone to either making a mistake or just simply missing something in one of these two files. So we're going to use the diff utility, right? And we talked about that, where if you type diff hosts and then hosts.1, it's going to tell me what the differences are between the two files. And what do we see? This line right here, I believe it's line number 24. So 192.168.0.9 is missing from the hosts.1 file. So if you take a look at, let me clear the screen here. So we're going to cat hosts.1, and I don't see Potomac listed in here, right? So what if I did more hosts? So Potomac is listed here. So the difference again, and I'll run that diff command again, the difference is on line 24 from host.1. This line is missing. Okay, and so this example here, maybe you get lucky and maybe you catch it by looking at the two files and doing a comparison, but if the file is 50,000 lines long and it's code and you're trying to figure out what's the difference between the original code file and the file that I just edited, the diff command comes in very, very handy. Alright, so where are we at? Temp CSI 135. So I can do more. And again, the tilde represents my home directory. And then let's take a look at the lab because we're getting down to the end here. Oh, I'm sorry. So it asks me what the difference is, right? What is the difference? So the file Potomac, or the host name Potomac with the IP address, is not listed. So I'm going to type cd and hit enter. I'm getting into my home directory, vi lab answers. So we're going to come down here, and I believe that was number 15. Back up, number 15. The Potomac host name is not, is not in the file hosts.1. Escape, Shift ZZ, right? All right, so what's next for us? More lab number 3. Again, I can type just lab number 3. I don't need to put the tilde because I'm in that directory. I'm in the same directory, right, with that file. So again, it's simply more LA tab because it makes it unique. So we'll roll down here. So that was number 16. So number 17, in the directory created in 2E above, use the date command to create a file with the exact name, or with the name date, that displays the following information in the exact same format as the output below. So it's a % space, month, day, year, date and time, and then gives me the PM, right? And if you remember from the reading, they showed the date command and they gave you a couple ideas as to how to use the date command. So again, the purpose of this is to get you to take a look at the reading, but also to get you to take a look at the man page for date to see, hey, how do I get this output out here, right? So let me take a look at that. Let's take a look at man date. And there's a lot of options here, right? And this is what we're looking for, the format controls. So right away you see, you do %, and you would get a literal %. So I'm going to scroll back up, and that's what it's asking for, right? It wants me to start my output with a %. So I've got that much down. So let's go ahead and do date, and then we're going to do the plus sign, and we're going to open parentheses. And what if I did %, and just hit enter? All right, so the output of that command is the %. So that's our first step. So the next step is I need to get the date in a format like this, month, day, and year with the slashes between it. So let's go ahead and take a look, man date, and let's scroll down here. So abbreviated weekdays, full weekdays. So let's keep looking, right, and see if we see anything that looks familiar. We'll come all the way down here. All right, and unfortunately you can see I'm getting some garbled characters in here, right? And there's all kinds of choices that we can pick from. But interestingly enough, it says date representation, right? %x. So this looks good. So let me check this out. Is that going to work for me? So I'm going to come in here and then I'm going to do %x, right? Hit enter. All right, so there we go. So it's %, space, $x, and very similar to what the book showed, right? Where the book had %A, %B, %D on page 158. All right, so we've got this part of the equation. So the last thing that we're going to need, and I have to go back and take a look really quick. When you get old, start to forget things easily. So the date command. All right, then we need the time, and then we need PM. So the time all the way to the seconds, and then PM. So again, let's take a look at the man page for date, and let's see which one displays the time, right? % capital T, right? Hours, minutes, seconds, and then the AM or the PM. And so here we go. I'm good right there. So we'll do the AM or the PM. And so that's what we need to figure out. Where is the AM or the PM? Because we know it's capital T, or if you use %R, look at this, 12-hour clock time, and it actually gives me the PM, right? So %R. So let's try that. Where's that date command at? Whoops. There we go. So we'll do space %R and enter. And right now it's AM, so obviously we're going to see AM. It's 11:17 AM. So here you go. That's exactly what this would look like, right? So the command is date, space, plus sign, open parens, %% space, %x space, %R. And again, this would become very, very handy if I wanted you to start a file that gave me the current month, day, year, and the current time, right? And if you're doing any scripting, this becomes very, very handy. All right, so this asked for that answer, and it wants it in my lab answers file. So I'll come fix this first. So that was 16. I'll do O to open a line, enter, number 17, and the command would be, and I'm just going to paste that in here. Paste. There we go. So that's it. That's that command. Now we'll take a look at the lab again. Come down here to, oh, I'm sorry, in the directory you created in 2E above. So we got to get into this directory that we created in 2E above. And this is okay, right? Making mistakes is okay. So math is hard. So where am I at? I'm in my home directory. So I'm going to cd into /temp/csi135b25 _tab, right? And then the math is hard directory. So here we are. But I know the command already, right? There it is. I just need to get that command into a file called date. And did that do it? So I see the file exists, right? But let's double check. Let's cat date, right? Let's more date, right? All the different ways that you can look at the file. Less is a little annoying again, right? Because there we go. We have to hit Q. Okay, but we did it. Now, next question. In the following directory, there's a file named animal. What animal is depicted in that file? So this is the directory where the file is located, and the name of the file is animal. So the purpose of this question, right, obviously use the tab key, okay? Or you could use the asterisk that we talked about that as well. So cd/temp/csi135b, I'm going to move in there and I'll type ls, and boy, there are a lot of directories in here. First one we need to go into starts with KAJ. Well, nothing else in the CSI135B directory begins with a K. So I could type in CDK asterisk, right, and hit enter. PWD, hey, it moved me in there. Or let me go back up, one directory, so now I'm back in CSI135B. I type in ls, and again, here's all these directories. So I could also type in CD space K tab, right, because again, after the K, it's unique. Enter. ls, there's the file animal. So let me cat animal. All right, it's a bat, or at least it appears to be a bat. So if I vi tilde, which represents my home directory, and then my lab answers for number 18, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that with dd, and then O to open number 18, there is a bat in the file, right? So let's save that. Let's take a look at the lab again, because I know I've got to move into a different directory here. So lab 3, right? So that was 18, number 19. In the following directory, there's a file named animal. What animal is depicted in that file? So the temp CSI135, and it begins with TPI. So let's move into /temp/CSI135B, type ls. Boy, there's all kinds of things in here, but again, TPI, nothing else begins with lowercase t, lowercase p. So I could, again, cd with T asterisk, and as you can see, it moved me in there. I'll go back up one directory, back into CSI 135B. I could also type in CD T, lowercase t, tab, and that works as well. And it puts us in there. There's the file animal. So let's cat animal. It's a snake. So we're going to VI our lab file slash, and the tilde represents the home directory slash my lab answers file. So number 19, I'm just copying really quickly here. So there is a snake in the file, right? So where am I at? I'm all the way down here. I want to take a look at the lab file again, which is in my home directory, lab number 3. And we did number 18, now number 19, right? Or I'm sorry, that was 19. So now we're on to number 20. So number 20 says in the following directory, there's a file named animal.bz2. Again, it's been bzipped, right? So what animal is depicted in the file? So here's the directory. Now the purpose of this file, and I guess we could argue that this is a trick question, but it's not. It's to get you to realize that the file is compressed, right? You can't use more or less or cat or VI. You're going to get just a bunch of garbled output because it's compressed, right? It's changed that file. It's basically just a bunch of ones and zeros at this point, and you're not going to be able to see it. But from the reading, you'll remember that you can use the bzcat utility on page 161. So first let's focus on where are we, right? Where do we need to be? I need to get into this directory here. Well, I know it's in temp CSI 135B, and I'm kind of already in there. I'm just in a different subdirectory. So I could type in cd/temp/CSI 135B /C and then hit the tab key. That would work, right? And I'll pull that line back. Oops. Or, since I'm only one directory below CSI 135B, I could type cd space /C, and again, because it's unique, tab, and that's going to put me in there. So there it is, animal.bz2. So if I do bzcat on animal bz2, all right. So I guess you could say it's a mosquito or a dragonfly. It could be a bunch of things, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick with dragonfly. So again, I'm going to VI my answers file in my home directory. So VI space /lab number 3 answers. And number 20, and just to make this a little faster, number 20, there is a dragonfly in the file, right? So there's a dragonfly in the file. So let's take a look at the lab again. Let's see what we've got. What's our next task? That was number 20. Number 21 is how many files are there in the tar file located in the following directory? Again, difficult file name here, or difficult directory name. So where am I at? I'm only one directory below, right? So we'll come up into the CSI 135 directory and then down into the tar directory. So let's see what we've got in here. So there's a file called tarball.tar. And if you remember from the reading, right, you can untar the file and display what's in the file, right, without actually unpacking the tar file by using the -T, right? And there's a note on that at the bottom of page 162. So if I try to unpack it with tar xvf, tarball.tar, you'll notice I get permission denied, permission denied, permission denied. I'm trying to open that file in a directory I don't own. And not only do I not own it, I don't have permissions to make any changes to this directory. So how could I do that? If I use tar tvf on tarball, right, much prettier output here, much easier to read, and I can see I've got host.deny, nsswitch.conf, hosts, host.allow, and aliases. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for question number 21, how many files are in the tar file? It's 5. Now what if I did this? And we looked at this a little earlier, right? I can count. Now it's always going to show me the current working directory, and that's what this // represents, right? So we could argue that, hey, that should count as a file, but I'm just looking for these files right here, so it's just 5, right? So we'll type in vi tilde slash lab3 underscore answers, and at the bottom of the file here, we're going to open it up, number 21. Oops. So I'm going to do another one here. So number 21, there are 5 files, 6 if you include the current working directory. Whoops, directory entry. Okay, escape, shift ZZ. So what's next? More tilde lab lab number 3. We're definitely down to the bottom of the file now. Okay. Oh, what are the names of 3 of those files? So again, I would put in, let's scroll back up here. I could put in host.deny, nswitch.conf, and host, and I'll update that here in a second. All right, so in which directory is the utility zforce located? So this is where we would use the which or where is, and then zforce. Right, so it's located in user bin zforce, right? And this is the man page entry. I'm not interested in the man page entry. We're looking for the utility itself. So it's located in user bin zforce, right? So if I vi my answers file, right, tilde for my home directory, and then lab underscore 3 answers. So I'm going to come in, and I'll put the names of these guys in, host.allow. I think it was host.deny, and then we can put in aliases, right? All right, so for number 22, it wanted to know where the zforce utility is located. So the zforce utility is located in, and I copied it, so there it is, user bin zforce, more tilde slash, and again, because I'm using that to shortcut the entire path, the absolute path name of my home directory. So it again is the utility zdiff built into the bash shell that we're using. So from the reading, if you do type zdiff, right, zdiff is user bin zdiff, so it's not built in. But if you use typeset, right, for number 24, it'll tell you if it's a built-in or not. So is zdiff a built-in? No. Is typeset a built-in? Yes. 25, and this is the 25 and 26 were the tough ones, right? So finally, append the output of the command history to the script file you created for this lab. All right. So first, let me go back to my answers file because I want to put in no and yes. Right. Lab answers. Come down to the bottom here. Number 23. Ooh, number 23, no, zdiff is not built into the shell. And number 24, yes, typeset is built into the shell. So we're done with the answers file, right? So let's do, I'm going to cat it because I know we're close to the end here. All right, so I'll scroll up. So append the output of the command history to the script file you created for this lab. So let's go to the home directory. What's the name of my script file? So there's my script file. So I'm going to say, history. Whoops. And the key here is, right, this could be very dangerous. If I did this, right, what would that do? Correct. It's going to destroy the script file I created, and I'm going to have to redo the entire lab, right? Or my script file is pretty much going to be empty. So I want to append. So remember, append that does not destroy is greater than greater than. So I'm going to append it to the end of my script file, right? And then the last step is using the mail utility, mail your script file, which should have the name CSI135BXX to TPB. So to do that, I go to the excuse me, mail -s. I'll put my subject in here. Oops. Here is my lab number 3 assignment, and I'm sending it to TPB, right? Now you can do @vader.aacc.edu. You don't have to, right? You can just do TPB, but I put it in there just to make sure. And again, how do we read a file into the email? ~r CSI. Oops. So ~r CSI 135B25 underscore 02062013 underscore script. Right, and remember, we get feedback when we're in the mail compose window. We're going to get feedback with the ~r because it shows, hey, I just read this file and here's how big it is, right? Pretty large file. And then the last step says make sure you CC yourself, right? So how do I send the email? I do a dot all by itself, and here's my CC. So I'm going to CC CSI 135B25, hit enter, and there it goes, right? So now you can also check your mail to see, hey, did it successfully send? And that's why I had you CC yourself. You always want to keep a copy of your work. So here we are in the mail window, right? The N means it's new. The greater than means if I hit enter, this is what it's going to display. So take a look at this, right? This script file, very valuable file, captured everything that we were doing, right? All the commands I ran, everything. So if I don't want to look at the whole thing, I can do Q to quit, and then Q to quit again, right? And so that's it. That is, and I apologize, my printer is recycling here, a little background noise. So again, that is lab number 3. Lastly, with lab number 3, there was a bonus question. It said, given the following output from the file months, it has all the months here, it says, how is it possible that you could receive the following output from the following command? Tail -5, and it gives me September, October, November, December, but it doesn't give me August. And I'll go ahead, I'll talk about this in class, but think about it if you had a space, an extra line where you didn't need a line. So that's kind of a hint. All right. That is lab number 3. I hope you guys have gotten a lot out of this video. It definitely took me a considerable amount of time to put it together. So I hope that you've watched it and that this is assisting you guys in learning the utilities. And again, very good lab. If you didn't get it right the first time, feel free to go ahead and run through and get those commands right again. It's going to help you a lot because we have a quiz on Wednesday, and a lot of these same tasks will be asked of you on that quiz. All right. That's all I've got. I will see you guys on Wednesday evening. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.